Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the DINO WYO Podcast. This one won't have as many pictures of Nobu as I'm sure you'd all like, though I still snuck in a few. It will have a sweet picture of my great uncle in historic Halifax in North Carolina, where my ancestors helped to kick out the Brits and found this country. And as a bonus for you folks, I threw in some childhood pictures my mom sent me. As you'll see, I've always had a face for radio. In this episode, I talk about what is currently a pretty hot button topic, immigration. But I'll warn you now that if you're looking for outrage or commentary on a lot of what's going on right now at a federal level, you're in the wrong place. I don't talk about ICE. I don't talk about the wall, which I have been to, by the way. I don't talk about DACA or the DREAM Act or any of the other regurgitated talking points and dog whistles that our politicians use to drive us apart. Mostly, this is because my goal is to unite, not divide, so I'm talking about what I think is the most common ground stuff on this topic. But also, it's because all that other stuff gets into an entirely different set of topics that range from the proper role of states versus the federal government, expansion of government power, how best to support law enforcement, and some seriously deep social divisions within our country. Instead of getting into that, like I said, I want to focus on the things I believe most folks can agree on. And with that, let's get to it. I want to talk a little bit about immigration because it's a good example of a national problem that has consequences for Wyoming. And I want to talk about how Wyoming could lead the way on fixing our immigration problem for potentially both sides. So if immigration is something very important to you, I hope it'll be clear how I help without falling into the traps of the current red wing, blue wing, right wing, left wing nonsense. There are two big problems that come about with illegal immigration. The first is that you have people who are at best marginally contributing to your society, but they don't pay. If they pay taxes, it's not in the same way as everybody else. If they receive benefits, it's not in the same way as everybody else, etc. I'm the first to say, non-citizens shouldn't get to vote. Non-citizens shouldn't get free healthcare. Non-citizens shouldn't get, our jobs. Non-citizens shouldn't be able to earn an income without paying taxes, while citizens do. Right? I can't stand those consequences of illegal immigration. The other huge consequence is human rights problems and if you're a super liberal, you should pay attention here. Illegal immigrants are the most targeted for human trafficking, for drug trafficking, for violent crimes, for abuse by their landlords, for abuse by their employers. Why? Because what are you going to do? Go to the cops? You're here illegally. They'll deport you, right? So they are huge victims of this problem. Legal immigration, though, is fantastic. Legal immigration is when somebody wants to come to our country, wants to be a part of our country, learn our values, integrate into our society, and contribute fully. Unfortunately, under this federal administration, Washington, D.C. has, for the first time in our history, made it harder to come here and join the military than to just come here. That's an example of something that's wrong. If you ask me, we should be prioritizing immigrants who want to come and contribute to the United States, who want to come and contribute here. How do you do that? Well, as it turns out, it goes back to building a functioning economy. I want to give a very specific example of a problem in Wyoming that immigration can actually help to solve. We have a massive nursing shortage, not just of regular nurses working in a hospital or an establishment like you would think of, but specifically of traveling nurses. I was talking to this one nurse, Misty, at one point in time, and maybe bleep out names. I don't know. I didn't get permission from anybody. But she worked in 3 different towns around Wyoming, each of which was no closer than an hour drive apart. She would basically spend Monday, Tuesday in one town, Wednesday, Thursday in the next, Friday, Saturday in the next, go home for Sunday, and then hit the road again on Monday. She didn't get to see her kids. She didn't get to see her husband. She didn't get to see her family because she was serving 3 different communities because she was one of the only ones solving that shortage. A lot of immigrants have medical training where they're from. I'm going to give a very fun explanation, an example that most people won't get, but that's not the main point. There's this awesome show called Northern Exposure. In this show, Dr. Joel Fleischman goes to Columbia Medical School, gets trained to be a doctor, and his training is paid for by the state of Alaska. In exchange, he has to do 5 years of medical service in Alaska. Sounds great. Alaska benefits, Fleischman benefits, and everybody comes out a winner in the end. Plus, it's an awesome show. Check it out. Northern Exposure. Would recommend. Wyoming has a similar program. It's called WWAMI. It's a partnership between the University of Wyoming and the University of Washington. The UWs represent UW. WWAMI is a program where we partner with the University of Wyoming or of Washington, between the University of Wyoming and University of Washington, and it helps to facilitate the training of medical students who then do their residency in Washington or in Wyoming and become full-fledged doctors, full-fledged practitioners, etc. It's an awesome program. we could do something similar where using our massive nursing programs in community colleges, we facilitate immigrants with medical experience coming to Wyoming. We can ask the federal government to help facilitate this. They could come to Wyoming and help solve a very real shortage, all while becoming legal citizens. So this is the thing. My vision of immigration, and again, it's a national issue, but Wyoming could lead the way. My vision is right now we have top-down immigration. My vision is that Wyoming becomes the leader of a bottom-up immigration system. This would be borrowing from other countries, like Australia has this in some ways, where their provinces set the quotas on what they need, and then their federal government facilitates getting the people to those provinces to fill those needs. Wyoming could say, we need nurses, so send us people with medical experience, we will help retrain them, and then in exchange, they will do part of their residency, part of their time in Wyoming. And then after 4 or 5 years of working in Wyoming and getting paid, being a contributing member of the economy, you can go wherever you want. I'm willing to bet that with a strong economy, most of them would choose to stay here. Now, what that means is you need a robust border that is secure. So I would defend and back any efforts to secure the border. But you also need to fix the immigration pipeline right now that is terrible at making sure that we bring people in and help them to contribute in their field. Right now, I went to school out in Washington, D.C., and in addition to seeing a lot of corruption, I saw a lot of problems like homelessness and a massive immigration issue where almost all of my Uber drivers were a doctor where they came from, whether it was a medical doctor or an engineer or some sort of professional. And now they're in America, the land of opportunity. And what do they get to do? They get to drive Uber. That tells me that something is wrong, because not only did they take a cab driver's job, but they're not working in their field. Why? Well, because rich people are typically in those fields and they keep them out from working in them. And instead, they make sure that they can only take the working man's job. Most immigrants aren't coming here. There's a myth that they come here to do the jobs that we don't want to do. That's not true. Most immigrants are coming here to do the job that they already tried to do, and then they find out we don't let you do that here. If you want to, you can take a job from a working class person instead. So Wyoming can lead the way in fixing that. But also, we talk about wanting hardworking people who believe in the traditions of Wyoming. Well, I'm here to tell you that those folks south of the border are typically conservative Christians with family values who believe in hard work, who don't like handouts, who don't like socialism, who are in fact anti-socialist because they know exactly what happens when a socialist dictator takes over their country. If you want good conservative Christian people in your country who believe in hard work and families and taking care of your elders and respecting your elders and not talking back to your elders, guess what? A lot of them are south of the border right now. So we need to secure our borders. We need to make sure that drugs and fentanyl and things like that aren't being, taken. Like China, I don't know if you guys know this, China takes huge advantage of our borders. They love to send fentanyl through our borders. Why? Because they're waging a reverse opium war on us. So Wyoming should absolutely defend and back efforts to secure the border. We need to make sure that we're not closing ourselves off to the world and the people who want to come and be Americans. The proudest Americans are often first-generation immigrants. We all know this. We've all experienced this. And if they want to come here and learn our culture and participate in our culture, be trained to our standards, whether it's medical care or engineering or anything like that, and contribute to our community and our society, Wyoming could lead the way in showing the rest of the country how to do immigration right. So while it is absolutely a national issue, it's one that affects Wyoming and our economy. And I would love to see us invest in a better immigration system that is led from the bottom up, from the states up to the feds, not the other way around. To quote the great President Ronald Reagan, the states built the federal government, not the other way around. And it's about time Wyoming reminds Washington of that fact.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the DINO WYO Podcast. If you enjoyed this piece, be sure to like and subscribe and all that other jazz. Also, if you want more content from our campaign and the Dino movement, be sure to check out our website at dinowyo.com and our other social media channels linked in our page description. Until next time, this is Gabriel Green, Dino candidate for Wyoming governor in 2026.